Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones. Across from me is...
Hi, I am Johnny Manchild.
I guess different from my usual first question. Why Johnny Manchild?
That's fair. Well, so my real name, which isn't even important anymore, I guess. But back 3 or 4 years ago, I wanted to basically start my own thing, start my own band, do my own music, which I wasn't used to because I was always the drummer or the bassist, did something else. I was never the front person. And I decided I wanted to have a whole other thing, literally a stage name, I guess. And so when the actual Manchild name comes from when I was a kid. My other mom, Phoebe, when I started getting older, she just started calling me Manchild. I started getting taller than her. And so I took that and I was like, I can make that work. That'll just be my name, Johnny Manchild. It sounded so weird at first, and now it's become normalized somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you might as well just be Johnny Manchild now.
Honestly, you'd be surprised. People that didn't know me before don't realize that's not my actual last name.
I mean...
I don't know how, but...
you can always count on people being idiots. So what do you do?
I'm a musician, recording engineer. I just music. That's it. I do music. I have other hobbies that don't matter so much, but yeah, basically anything. I'm a theory nerd. I play piano, drums, guitar, bass, and yeah, I produce and record music around the city.
Yeah. How did you get started in music?
Okay. I don't actually remember. I was just told.
Sure.
But I know when I was a kid, 2, 3, probably more like 3, but I would bang on pots and pans, do that whole thing. And it started, I had one of those tiny baby drum sets.
Sure.
And then when I was around 7 or 8, I was diagnosed with ADD, as everybody is. And I started taking drum lessons. And that was, I guess, I was on medication for a second, and it really didn't work. And then I got drum lessons, and that worked a lot better.
Yeah.
And so I've been playing since I was 7 or 8,
Sure.
taking lessons. So that's how I got into it. It went off from there. I was in my first band when I was 10, but
Dang.
yeah, bunch of stuff.
So drums is your primary instrument, or do you feel like you're better at?
God, it's primary is weird.
Right.
It was my first. I don't know what my primary is now. I don't really feel. I don't know what my primary would be.
Right.
On specific days, drums is it. On other days, keyboard is definitely it. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
What do you feel more comfortable at?
Drums. I guess drums for the most part. There's no genre. I guess if I was taking it to the extreme, if I'm at a cutting session, a jazz session or something, I'll play drums.
Yeah.
Because there's a million people out there that are gonna play a lot better than me at keyboard, but I can hang on drums.
Sure. Yeah.
So.
No, that's good. How did you get to all of the other instruments?
So I think it was because of my first band. When I was 10, I was taking drum lessons from Dean Brown at McMichael's, and he was aware of this band from Norman that was looking for a drummer called Refuge. Mm. And so this band consisted of Ford Chastain, who went on to be a guitarist for Stardeath and White Dwarfs, and Troy Cheshire. He did Reg and does his own thing now, and Jay Harp. But I got set up with those guys, and we did really well for a band. They were all 2 years older than me, but we toured around. We had actual money to mess with, and when the band went away, we all got I think $1,200 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so I bought a little Tascam Porta Studio because I wanted to start trying to write songs and recording my own things. And so it gets a little confusing right here because at some point I picked up guitar and I don't know how. Mm-hmm. I don't remember learning it. It just happened.
Right.
I know there was a point where I couldn't play at all, and then I could. So But yeah, that happened. I started using this little Porter studio, recording my own stuff, and then I was like, well, I need bass, and so then I learned how to play bass, and then that's kind of how it went. I kept slowly accruing different things, trying to make stuff sound better.
Out of necessity, really.
Yeah, basically.
What, I guess, how did you start songwriting? Because it's very different just being in a band, and it's very different, like, just making your own stuff.
Yeah, so that was also kind of, I can think of specific stuff. I don't know how, I'll try not to talk too much, but I guess that's kind of the point.
That's kind of the point.
So the first thing I think was when I was a kid, I would take lyrics that I liked and I would add my own lyrics to them.
Yeah.
And like synthesize them. And that's kind of how it's sort of like a repertorial study. Like as you would do with music or composers, like you study what they did and try to write in their style. I did that same thing with lyrics, but I was like 10. I didn't know what I was doing.
Sure.
That's why my first songs sound like Green Day when I was like really young. And then something that I think made a big difference was the fact that I was using this little studio and getting the chance to actually like chop and splice and arrange. And this was before they plugged straight in the computers and you had interfaces and stuff.
Right.
So I had to start learning how to like think about it and prepare for how things were going to go. And that started kind of rewiring my brain to think about composing and stuff. And then something that was really important was Trent Reznor. Back in like 2007 or 2008, their website, Nine Inch Nails, released all of the project files for like all of their music. And I've always been a huge... Yeah. So I was like, that's amazing. So I downloaded all of them, and it's these projects that you can open up. You can look at how they mixed it, what you can solo every instrument. And so I started looking through those and seeing how he did it. And like that's why like my first stuff was really industrial, like electronic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a mix of just having no friends literally till I was like 16, basically, and having nothing else to do but mess around and mess with the 8-track. And when GarageBand was a thing, then that was super cool. So
yeah,
but yeah.
So I mean, is there like a genre that you want to stay in, or you just yeah?
I mean, Johnny Manchild and the Poor Bastards it sort of has a area of limitation. Not even really at all, but like so far we've stayed in like this piano rock kind of jazz influence. There's some punk and grunge things in there sometimes, but I don't plan on thinking about anything that I'm going to write or put out as I'm going to stick with this. Cause like I've always thought that, like, I understand the point of having genres, but like limiting yourself to one is like deciding you're going to be happy all the time or that you're going to be sad all the time. Like it's every genre is like good for a specific emotion or like color palette, I guess. I don't know how to say it without sounding really
right.
But
well, that's kind of the point. We can sound all heady in here. That's I mean, I think maybe a limitation would just be that like these are the instruments that you have.
So, and that's where that's what's getting really interesting. I'm trying real hard to push for this because obviously that's the limitation, right? Like,
right.
What if I want to write a song that doesn't have trumpets and saxophone? Like,
yeah.
And so now we're getting into pedal boards for my horn players, and I'm like saxophone. You can turn that into a synth really, really easily.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where limitations become more of a creative thing. And of course, money is a limiting factor, but we're working on that. But the question is like, how out there can you get with these cats eating your backpack? But how out there can you get with this instrumentation to do what you want to do? Like, so yeah, we'll see what happens.
Right. And I mean, you can get like, at least for saxophone, there's like the electronic sort of thingy.
Trumpet too. I mean, look at like my Danny trumpet player is really into. We're all into Snarky Puppy, but he's specifically into the pedal board of who is he? Mark Marr, I think.
I'm not sure.
I think that's his name, but he's got like it's all it is basically like a wah, delay, and a drive, but it gives you this like ripping electric guitar trumpet sound.
Cool.
So like there's obviously been lots done with horns, but I think there is a niche area that not that there's not music out there, but it's definitely not mainstream. So you can mess with it and probably find something relatively different.
Sure. Is electronic sort of an inevitable progression?
I mean, I wouldn't call it like a progression exactly. I mean, it's an influence. We've already used a vocoder.
Right, yeah.
Like, because I love that shit. But I don't... progression is a weird word just because I wouldn't say it's going to go straight electronic, but there's definitely no arguing that's going to like influence the music. Because I mean, like LCD Sound System, I love that. And like Daft Punk too, like straight electronic music is always good, but LCD I've always loved because he mixes it so well. Yeah. And that's something I'd, gonna do probably.
You sold your guitars and bought computers, and then sold your computers and bought guitars.
Selling guitars and turntables. Yeah, but I was there.
So, who are your biggest influences now?
Right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Snarky Puppy for sure. I can't stop listening to Snarky Puppy just because it's so goddamn cool. Another one, Sufjan Stevens has always been one. Yeah. Just because, I mean, you listen to Illinois and then listen to Age of Ads, and I don't know what the hell happened. Like, it's Age of Ads is like your kind of thing. That's that's super up your alley. Yeah.
And that crazy. Is probably my favorite Sufjan album, I think.
It's crazy. It's super.
Enjoy Your Rabbit is also really interesting, but that was like the weird introduction. But continue.
But yeah, like he's a great songwriter, and he's really. You don't have to like Age of Ads to accept that it's
art.
Yeah, to accept that it's art. Like it's something else. Yeah, it's something that's truly one of a kind. Like it's fucking weird. Sufjan's one. Right now, I'm really into. I guess I couldn't call that an influence, but Hop Along's awesome. I'm just gonna say Hop Along, just so anybody who happens to listen to this looks up Hop Along. But. Yeah, Sufjan Stevens, LCD Sound System, Snarky Puppy, Hiatus Coyote. Really, that I've been listening to a lot of Quincy Jones and a fuck ton of soul music, actually, which I'm still nervous to let that influence me too much because I don't know how well I can do it, but I want to. But yeah, a lot of it keeps getting older, like. I still try to find newer stuff to listen to and let that be an influence, but I keep going back in time, which I don't know if that bodes well, but.
Who were your biggest influences as you were sort of first starting to write music and make?
At the very beginning, I remember it was White Stripes for like really obvious reasons, just because, I mean, they did a lot with very little. Yeah. And I could work with that. Like it makes White Stripes makes music accessible to people who are young and don't know how to do much. Yeah. Because I mean, any like 10-year-old can play most of those drum parts. So, they were one of the first ones. I always liked Green Day for the lyricism, and then as I started getting a little older, I went super into like. Buzzcocks and Dead Kennedys, and there's Aquabats, Rancid, Operation Ivy, like Scott. I went super into that. Right. Punk stuff. And so a lot of the earlier stuff, is kind of, I almost want to say pop punky and punky. Like, sure. There was some very, no one will ever hear them, no one will ever know what they sound like, but yeah. And then Nine Inch Nails, Ministry. Right. Growing up even further, I got really into that sound.
I guess, and then going into like the band, why the Poor Bastards? I guess.
So that was actually, so I knew Johnny Manchild was going to be my thing. Right. It's going to be called that, and one of the first songs that I wrote for the band was Annie. And that was, so before I titled it, I don't remember what it was called. It was like, Sappy Kitsch or something. That was like the working title, literally.
Yeah.
And I was showing it to our old guitarist, Jamie, and he was like, "Is this about Annie?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's about Annie." And he was like, man, you poor bastard. That sounds fake, but that's actually how I named the band.
Sure.
So, yeah, Johnny Manchild and the Poor Bastards.
How do you deal with, this is something that I deal with, so it's kind of also a question for me, but like, how do you deal with the weirdness of the ego that is like, it is sort of you as the front man of the thing, and it's the name, and yeah.
So that's where Johnny Manchild actually kind of helps a little bit. Because so one of the biggest reasons that I decided I needed a new name is because I had horrible anxiety, social anxiety. And like the band's helped me with that a lot. But like it's hard to understand why someone with like super like stage fright and anxiety would want to be the front person of the band.
Yeah.
But like I had just gotten out of a band with some very mean people. Like, and I've been in bands with people that just ended up sucking. Like there's bad people to be around. And so I finally decided, like, I'm going to start a band. I'm going to do this thing. I have all this music I've been working on. Maybe it sucks. Maybe it doesn't. I'm going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know. I couldn't see myself doing it. So I created something else. Like, literally. And so Johnny Manchild is, that's, I guess, where the ego doesn't come in is because it's not mine. It's, and maybe I'm slowly morphing into this person that I've created, I guess. But I don't feel too much of a problem with that. I accept that sometimes I can be a little controlling over some songs are my babies.
Sure.
That happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if that answered the question.
Right. No. Well, because that's the thing is that, I mean, every artist sort of has like a thing, and so putting a stage name in front of it, you do kind of like get to separate. Like, Johnny from Johnny Manchild.
Yeah.
So I guess who's Johnny Manchild then?
I mean, so he's like the Tyler Durden of my life or something. Like he, just somebody that's capable of getting up and putting on an awesome show and doesn't have. Definitely has problems. Johnny, I mean, that's the thing is like the image of the band is a parallel of me still. Like obviously the songs are about like sometimes there's drug abuse and then sleep problems and all these other things. So it'd be a lie to say that it's actually a separate person. It's just like a cartoon version of me, which is I mean, yeah, we have a bunch of cartoons, but yeah. So I don't know what else to say about it really. Johnny Manchild's just me exaggerated.
Sure. Yeah.
Basically.
Talking a little bit about education. How did you, because I've seen you a lot around the people through school and stuff, but I also don't know what you studied actually.
So I studied jazz performance at UCO, which wasn't my original degree. I went to UCO after I got back from the like basic training and everything, and I used that to help pay for school.
Sure.
A little bit, but my initial, like I was just there for percussion performance originally. And I'd been into jazz already, but I definitely got into it a lot more being at UCO. Like I was in the jazz band in high school, and I was in the jazz band in the Army. And then at UCO, I partook in their stuff, and it's kind of... So to answer like the original question, yes, I was jazz performance. That's where I graduated in. But my education is why this band exists, for sure. Like going to UCO. Because I was still a percussionist, like in my mind, when I started there. Like that's what I was. And I started taking piano lessons with Dr. Owens. And at some point, I just like super fell in love with piano.
I love Dr. Owen, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's like... She's Jesus.
Basically, she's like the nicest person in the world, too.
Yeah.
But she's yeah, so I started getting into like classical first a little bit, which I'm not a good classical pianist, but I steal the tropes of it, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I even though I was a percussion major, I got really into that, and I got into composing and decided that's another thing about starting this band. Like it was honestly kind of a weird move because I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna sing and play piano.
Yeah.
And that was like the last things that I do. But
Right.
yeah, it was cool though. I started studying jazz with Dennis Poretsky and like working on that stuff and voicings and all that. And then they allowed the jazz bachelors. That became a thing. Like it was a really recent thing, and it also let me not have to be in marching band. So
I loved marching band, but
I hated marching band. So I switched my major to jazz performance.
sure.
Yeah.
So since you have sort of like kind of both sides of that coin of like classical world and jazz and then contemporary, how does that sort of bleed into what the band does?
And I mean, so like Insomnia, the actual song of the album is a good example. I wish I could have done a better job recording that, but it was very hard, and that was one of the last things I got to do. It was a little rushed, but that's a good example of just like straight up trying to do weird classical stuff. Like
Sure.
had clarinet and flutes and strings and all this stuff, trying to make that work. So that would be like the furthest extent of me getting like classical with it. And I think where that kind of marries a little bit better was on Deserve. So Deserve was way more contemporary, but still had all that stuff. We had piccolo flute and clarinet and all the strings and everything, but it was definitely a rock song, like a lot more. So the classical side comes into that, and I mean, obviously jazz comes out in like things like Lightning and just the tone of certain things, but
Sure.
I don't know, classical and jazz come together pretty seamlessly.
Right.
Honestly, like you can throw, like if you listen to like Thad Jones or I mean, fucking Duke Ellington, like you know, that stuff just it's there.
Yeah,
like it's not that far away from each other. Honestly, like it's just different names for the same thing. But yeah, I'm still working on putting all this stuff together. I never go out of my way to try and fuse stuff together.
Right.
If it goes there, I just let it go there. But
Yeah. But then, because I feel like classical and jazz sort of are kind of separated from contemporary world, and that like, because I mean, I went to ACM and, but I also went to UCO for 2 years, and so like that world of like, here's the structured and like sheet music and everything, and then ACM is like, here's the chords, here's the idea, listen to the track, play it down.
So
like,
yeah, you're basically talking about the difference between like an orchestra and like the Nashville notation system, like,
right?
Like it's,
but it's also like a cultural difference,
and that's so there are some things I'm not as aware of as you might think. I am not current with a lot of music, and honestly, whenever I'm like, maybe I should listen to what's going on, and then I hate it. So that's just me. But that's so Quincy Jones. A lot of people know who he is. A lot of people don't. Even people who do know who he is might not know everything he did. This is fucking crazy, and I always will love Quincy Jones, because if you want to talk about contemporary music, this is somebody who's at classical and jazz and put it into contemporary music.
right?
So like like his most like best-selling work, right?
I'm not sure.
Quincy Jones recorded produced and arranged Thriller, the entire album Thriller. And when you actually go back and like you listen to like this music that he made with Michael Jackson, like there's some pretty like hip chords happening in there.
Yeah.
And the same thing, like he did Fly Me to the Moon with Sinatra. He did just a bunch of stuff ranging from more kind of classically leaning, and of course I'm not talking about like he wasn't writing concertos or anything, but
Sure.
You know, he blended a lot of these things together to make really cool, at the time, modern music.
Yeah.
Ben Folds
Yes.
is another person I couldn't not talk about if we
Yeah,
were talking, like, because he actually does write concertos, and and they're really cool too. But he started, I think it started getting classical around like the, or is it Rainer Messner or Reinhold Messner? It was like their second or third album is Binfold's Five. And that is straight up blending classical with rock. God, I think I'm thinking of a different album, but Cigarette. These
Yeah.
I don't know if, so you know that
I
song.
know the song.
But if he took the lyrics away, it's just a really nice little
Yeah.
sonata type thing almost. But
And it's a straight through song pretty much.
yeah, like it almost doesn't even have sections. Like
Yeah.
it's man, but yeah, he did stuff like that. He has a lot of music like that has deeply classical like structure.
Yeah.
But it's got lyrics, and yeah, I don't know. I think I've gotten pretty far away from whatever the original question was. We're just talking about
that's the
music
now. What's the goal of Johnny Manchild and the Poor Bastards? If there is one, or just
Therapy.
where do you want
Therapy. I don't know. Honestly, it's just like I write these songs because I want to.
Yes.
And I suppose the goals changed a little bit. Literally, at first, it was more like the band was like drinking water after being stranded in the desert or something like that.
Sure.
Like it was something that had to happen. I just
Yeah.
needed to do it. Now I don't have to do it in the same way. It's still something that I'm like deeply attached to and have no intention on slowing down or stopping. But it is a little more targeted now. We've got like a fan base growing mostly on the internet, not really where I live, which is bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have more listeners in London than we do in my own city, which is
Cool.
It's cool. But it changes, like, instead of worrying so much about, like, I still want to be involved in Oklahoma and play shows here.
Exactly.
But now we're thinking more like content creators in a way, because like online is where we can make money to keep producing and making music and recording. Like, so I'm kind of, the end goal, I guess, is to branch out. I've always wanted to make more music, or music videos in general. We don't have one yet. Shelby Criswell is our artist, and he's always done just like amazing work.
Sure.
Every time I have an idea, he makes it way better. And I've wanted to do a comic book.
Cool.
Like, actually, for the EP, I had an entire like storyline, that like an arc that tied all the songs together. Literally, there's, as far as goals for what the band is, we've accidentally kind of created like a universe of characters because it's always been cartoons. And so, yeah, I could do music videos or comic books. If I get the chance to animate a music video, I'm damn sure going to do that because that's awesome. Yeah, I don't know. Like, there's whatever conceivable thing could happen, I probably want to do it.
All right. What's a musical hurdle that you've gotten past that you like didn't think that you were ever going to get through?
Working with other people. Which I still think I'm an asshole sometimes, which apparently I'm not. Maybe I am. I'm not sure anymore.
Right.
But I know that I'm better.
Right.
So that's something.
But that's the anxiety talking.
Well, yeah, I mean, because, that's the thing is when you go so long without having like that many friends or doing anything and just working in a box by yourself and creating stuff, then you get, like, now, because of doing that for so long, when a song pops in my head, sometimes they'll be fully formed. Like, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
And when somebody offers something other than that,
You're like
very
fighting that. Yeah.
I'm trying to step away from myself and be like, is this better? I have to like let myself hear it because it's hard to do. I don't know. So that's been a hurdle. Lately, we've been playing together for long enough now. I don't know if I've just gotten, if I've infected them with my like sensibilities and they play more like what I like, or if
Sure.
I've just become more open to everyone's ideas. Either way, I think it's probably a little bit of both.
Right.
Honestly, we've kind of melded together. We have a good groove going. I'll bring a song forward. You know, I write the lyrics and like the structure and everything, but now we can all fuck with it, which
Yeah.
yeah, that's the other hurdle too that kind of mentioned earlier. Like, how do I keep writing? Because the thing about not working with other people and doing the way that I was doing is when these songs come up and these like inspired blurts of stuff.
Yeah.
How do you write things when you're not inspired?
Yeah.
So 2 hurdles in one, really. I kind of managed to work with everybody and learn how to do a group writing thing, and in turn, that also dissolved the issue
Yeah.
of having to worry about waiting to be inspired. Because like, I've got maybe like 80 to 100 songs
Yeah.
written, and some of them aren't good. But when we put them through like the filter of our band, we make it sound good now. So now it's just fun.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, that's
Yeah. What's a musical hurdle that you're still working on?
I mean, I'm always going to be working on one. Like, I don't know. I feel like the constant hurdle is just wanting to keep making better stuff.
Yeah.
And better is a subjective term.
Right.
It always changes. And I guess that's why the hurdle's always there. It's because my ideas on things change. And so better is now something else. And I want to do that. And yeah, it's a constant, I hope a progression,
Sure.
but definitely a constant changing and morphing. Yeah.
What's something that people don't normally understand about music and making music or making a life out of music? Yeah.
Oh, man. Something that people don't normally understand. I think most people understand, but most people might not really like get it. I guess if you are really passionate about music to the extent that not doing it makes life pretty much worthless. Like it's not like other things. Like most people could give one thing up if they had to, but it's like anything that you're truly passionate about. You will sacrifice relationships, and you'll sacrifice money, and your parents will question you consistently. Everybody knows that that's what it is, but not everyone understands what that's actually like, because it's, for me anyway, it never felt like a choice to be a musician. This is just what I do.
Yeah.
So now I have to live with it.
Yeah.
I guess. And sometimes it sucks because I would sure like to be good at something else that made more money.
Sure. At what point did you decide that you were like, this is what I'm doing forever? Or if it
That's the thing, is that there was never, it just was what I was doing.
Yeah.
Like, I think I was into photography at one point. I don't know. Like I was a musician always. And I think that's because I was in the band I was in when I was like 10, because most 10-year-olds aren't in a band like that. It was weird. I didn't know how the band was doing because I was too young to understand. But we got flown out to fucking Los Angeles by Fox. Like we did weird shit.
Yeah.
And so like when you're exposed to something like that young, you're just like, well, this is what I do now.
Yeah.
So
kind of more broader philosophical questions about music.
cool.
What is selling out, if it is a thing?
Oh, you can only sell out to yourself. That's I think. Like, man, life is fucking hard. If you can make money playing music, just I don't know, does it really matter that much? Like, you can, as long as you're still doing something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're doing, as long as you enjoy it. if you're abandoning your own beliefs for money, then I think that's selling out.
Yeah.
And that's how I would word it. Now, fuck everybody else. Like,
Sure.
if I feel like if someday I get the chance to work with like, I don't know, fucking Lady Gaga and make a pop album, I'm gonna do that 100 goddamn percent.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a lot of money doing it, but I'm
Sure.
also gonna have a damn good time doing
yeah.
it. So
I mean, Lady Gaga is also a weird example in that she's also like an artist.
that's true.
You
She
could-
did Tony
be
Bennett
like,
in that album.
Oh, do an album with like Katy Perry. That's a little bit
There
less.
you go.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't fucking. That's the most that I can't think of any other names.
Right.
Taylor Swift. There you go.
Sure.
Didn't know with Taylor Swift.
Even then, I would enjoy doing an album with Taylor Swift. That would be fun.
To make it work. Maybe I'll be in Cats.
Oh, God.
That was terrifying.
Yeah. Do you separate art from the artist?
Yeah. That's a struggle sometimes, but like, yeah, I think so. Like, if Hitler might have been a little bit better, maybe that shit would be in a museum for a different reason. He's still not a good person, but like, there's times where when you look back, look at the jazz greats, honestly, like Miles Davis and Bill Evans and all these people. These were fucking heroin addicts.
Yeah.
They weren't good people. Like,
Right.
not really. Like, if you knew anybody close to them, they probably did some relatively abusive shit.
Yeah.
And they probably weren't the best people in the world. It's not. I don't know. I don't believe that you should sacrifice yourself for the sake of what you're creating, but I don't think that you should sacrifice what's being created because of the person. Like, that's a hard argument. It really depends. I'd say case by case, because you shouldn't support somebody who's doing heinous shit.
Right.
But you know, that's a tough one, I think.
Right.
I
I
remember,
always use the example of Kanye West, who's like, he's not doing anything illegal. He's just an asshole.
oh no, against Kanye West. Like, yeah, he's a dick, but listen to his music, it's fine. Then there's another example, Surfer Blood. There's a band that I like. They're not crazy famous, but they're good. And a while back, there's a story about the lead singer like physically like beating on a girl. I was like, okay, that's one of my favorite bands, and that really sucks.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go to any more of their shows.
Sure.
But some of those songs, I grew up like listening to them, and they have personal meaning. And I won't rag on anybody for listening to that stuff. But that's where it gets a little
Sure.
tricky.
Definitely. What advice do you have for other musicians who are starting out?
Just do stuff. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, like play as much as you can. Try to play with other people. It really doesn't matter what you're doing as long as you're doing something.
Right.
I think the most important thing that you can do if you're first starting out music, is get a wider example of what music is. Start listening to more, because a lot of people who aren't musicians just kind of take what's given to them when it comes to music.
Yeah.
Like, there's the mainstream, like, it's mainstream. It's already coming to you. If you want to, and you can play that, and that's no problem, but I would recommend trying to dig in, find stuff that you actually like, not just because it's there, but because you like it. Like, look around, start just listening to more.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I guess. Like, if you want to be a better speaker, you need to listen to people who speak well.
Yeah.
So,
There's no good transition into this section of the podcast. So, what is the role of spirituality or religion in your life?
well, spirituality is one thing, I suppose. I mean, in my life or in my music, it's in the music, right?
I mean, in your life.
Okay. I'm not religious.
Yeah.
Religion is interesting, like mythology is interesting, and there's tons of parallels all over. The difference is, I guess religion can still. I should start over just to be completely clear. Religion can be a great thing, and there are people that I've met who are religious who do good things in the name of religion, just as there are people who do horrible things.
Sure.
And that's why, as far as religion goes with me, like I understand its purpose, but I don't think it's necessary. I believe that you can do good things based on like moral codes. And some people have argued like how do you know what's morally right and wrong if you don't have a religion? You know. Like people know not to kill people, you don't rape people, you don't hit people that didn't do it. Like there's just things you don't do. So just don't be a dick and we're fine. I don't need like Jesus or everlasting hellfire to make me think anything else.
Yeah.
And I also don't have a problem with anybody who thinks that. Like, that's fine. Just don't make me listen to it, I guess.
Right.
That being said, in music and in art and writing, it offers tons of cool stuff to put into your lyrics. And, you know, that I talk about God a little bit in some of my songs, almost in a satirical or sarcastic way, because sometimes life goes so shitty sometimes that someone has to be personally fucking with you. So it can feel like that. I've only ever believed in God in the sense that he was fucking with me.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah. Which is actually my next question. What is your definition of God if you want to give one?
My definition of God is, it's honestly whatever anybody feels like it is. I'm going to sneeze. It's going to interrupt this whole thing.
That's fine.
Got it. All right. So, to some people, I guess it's what do I think it is? I don't think God is anything. I think God is a construct created for some people because they need it to feel like, as crazy as the world is, that something is still creating order. Some people don't understand, and so they create it. Like that's why. Like, why does Ra, the sun god, exist? People didn't know that the giant fucking ball of fire in the sky was just the sun, and so they started praying to it and hoping it didn't kill them. Yeah. Like, and that's what it is. Like, you create order out of chaos, and God is the word for that. And some people use it well, and some people don't. I personally acknowledge that I think everything is kind of just a happenstance of chaos. Like, this shit just sprang up out of boiling stardust. Yeah. And now we're here. Yeah. Fucking cat.
And there's also cats.
And there's also cats. Yeah. Godless creatures.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you a lot. Is free will an illusion?
No. Free will is... It depends. How you think. So what do you mean when you say free will is an illusion? Like, what would be an example of free will to you? Like a choice that you could make?
Right. Well, so it kind of boils down to like free will versus determinism, but that's a kind of strange thing. But basically, are your choices just sort of, you have a will to make those decisions, or are all of your decisions sort of influenced by environment?
I tried to read Sartre, and it didn't go well. It's very French. But so determinism and the whole, so that's the idea basically that I was raised a certain way and put into a certain situation. So it's really just almost algorithmic, the choices that I make, right? Like, as much as it feels like free will, how much free will is it really? It's more of like all my choices are a result of my upbringing, right?
Hence the term illusion.
Right. So I don't believe that entirely. Now, that is, you can frame it that way if you want, because I could say like I made certain choices in spite of how I was raised, but then is that just a result of it anyway?
That's the question.
So I have a choice to, I believe we all have free will, because I could go outside and just start like shooting rounds into the air if I feel like it, but like, why would I not do that? The reason's not because it's legal. The reason's not because no one told me to. It's more just like,
you don't have a gun.
I have a gun.
Oh, okay. Neat.
Dude, I don't take it anywhere. I don't go Clint Eastwood, but it's in my house.
All right. It's because I don't have a gun.
But I don't want to. That doesn't sound like a thing that's fun to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously we live in a society where there are certain things we can't do because it's dictated that we can't do them. And obviously there are influences from the people that raise us and like the world that we're in. But at the end of the day, if you really wanted to, or if I really wanted to, I could break my lease. I could sell all my shit. I could get a ticket and fly out and join the Peace Corps. And there's nothing stopping me from doing that. I don't believe that free will is an illusion. I think that a lot of us, maybe for a lot of us it is because we allow it to be. I mean, there's certain mindsets that we let ourselves be stuck in, but it's I don't know. Illusions are illusions. They're not real. Like we can change it if we want to.
You kind of answered it earlier, but let's see what happens. How do you determine what good behavior is?
Good behavior. So good behavior is, let's say that you had no laws, no anything. You have a group of dudes, let's say an equal group of women, equal group of men, and you walk over to them, and they all have, let's say they're all buff. They're just buff as fuck, and so are you. Yeah. Anything that would provoke them to kick the shit out of you is not good behavior.
Sure.
And that's pretty much it. Like, don't fuck with people. Don't do anything that somebody doesn't want. Don't do anything. It's the golden rule, and that's good behavior. Don't hurt things. Don't take advantage of people. Don't say mean shit just to say mean shit. Like, try to be constructive. Try to be progressive. And, like, yeah, that's good behavior. A lot of people also talk about the whole leftist, like, super liberal snowflake thing.
Sure.
And just kind of piggybacking on top of that. The whole good behavior thing might change when we talk about what progressive is. But just while I'm here, just don't be a dick. Like, life's been pretty easy for the groups outside of those that are being like fucked with for the most part.
Yeah.
So we can accept a few limitations to give them equal freedoms, I think. So just don't be a fucking dick.
Yeah.
And that's good behavior.
Yes.
And there's my bit.
How do we reduce the division since we touched there? And you made a great transition point for me there.
How do we reduce the division? I'm a straight white guy. So, starting from right there, sometimes I don't know. I try to be as accepting as I can to everybody because at the end of the day, it's, they can do whatever you want. It's not fucking with me. You can be transgender, you can be gender fluid, you can be any race or anything you want to do, really. I don't care. And I think any people, at the end of the day, that division, it doesn't really go away because I choose to be that way. So I only have so much control. Change is, the Gandhi thing. What you want to see in the world, be the change.
Sure.
And that is a good start. There's obviously division created by like more systematic things.
Yeah.
And that's where I really don't know how to do much. I think the number one thing that you can do is if you see something fucked up, say something.
Yeah.
Because, bring in Boondock Saints, actually. There is no greater evil than the indifference of good men. So that's a big thing. And just stand up for people when fucked up shit is happening.
Yeah.
As much as you can. You don't have to be like a justice warrior to do that. Just be a good person.
Exactly.
So.
What are you optimistic about for our future? If at all.
I am optimistic to see how the human race may come together to pull us out of this almost hopeless problem that we are running into. If optimistic at all. Because if we're going to not kill ourselves and end our own species, it's going to take some magnificent shit. And I'm really excited to see what that is. So, Yeah. Really though, I'm curious if there ever reaches a point where we know it's over. I'm curious to see what the end of that looks like. I want to see the true nature of people when nothing else really matters. That'd be nice. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's not
no.
very optimistic.
Right, no, but I like that. Ooh, here's one that I am glad that I put into my list. Do you believe that humans are inherently good or evil?
No, not good or evil. Everybody's capable of anything. And that's. I think it's a day by day thing and a event by event, choice by choice basis. Because I'm even capable in the right situation. I'm sure I'm capable of doing something that I would think is terrible.
Sure.
And that's why, when confronted with whatever that situation might be, it's my choice to act whatever way. I'm capable of leaning towards good or evil, and I think anybody else is too. I don't think I'm inherently any way. And I don't know. I was raised relatively well. My father is a pretty aggressive and violent person, and I don't share his tendencies. So I do not think that humans inherently wish harm upon anything.
Okay.
I think we might be inherently selfish and maybe intentionally ignorant of certain things sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we're inherently evil.
Yeah.
Not to say we're inherently good. We are
Tabula
constantly,
rasa, as they say.
wait, what?
Or tabula rasa, or I forget who coined that term, but blank slate.
Blank slate. Yeah, we're a consistently blank slate, ever changing upon the last decision that we made. Unless you do some really fucked up shit, and then you might be bad, but that was your fault. There's some things you can't come back from.
Yeah. What makes you happy?
I don't know. I don't know. Music has the potential to make me happy, but it doesn't just naturally make me happy. Because it's more like when you're hungry and you eat, does that make you happy? Or does it just do its job? Sometimes it does. Sometimes the food's really good. Sometimes it lifts your mood. Sometimes it just does what it has to do. Happiness is kind of like the good and evil argument. Are you happy or are you sad? I think it's also your choice. Sometimes it's a harder choice. But I don't think anything. It's not good to look at it as what makes you happy, because it's the same way as motivation versus determination, I guess.
Sure.
Motivation, it's easy work when you're motivated, but when you're not, it takes determination to keep working.
Yeah, yeah.
In the same way, if something makes you happy, it's easy to be happy because it made you happy. But if there's nothing to make you happy, you have to try to remember, just be happy. It's your choice to do so. You can wake up and be like, today's gonna be a good day, and God fucking help anyone who gets in my way of making it a good day.
Yeah.
Almost aggressive happiness.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a struggle.
Yeah. And that's okay.
I'm bipolar too, so that changes things every once in a while.
What advice do you have for people in general?
In general?
Yeah.
Don't get too caught up in the big picture, the big scheme of things. Don't look too far ahead. Because, I guess it's really just stop and smell the roses. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you look at the big picture, you don't even know there are fucking flowers. You're just walking.
Yeah.
You don't want to get too tunnel visioned. Especially because I don't think thinking that far ahead is healthy. It makes you... There's no gratification. It's good to have long-term goals and to work towards those, but you need to let yourself feel gratified with where you're at. Otherwise, you will get depressed. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, I'm going to go get a coffee after this.
Yeah.
That's going to be really good.
Cool.
So at least that makes that, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And for today, that's all I'm going to think about, actually.
Cool. Yeah.
So,
Last question. Cake or pie?
You can't just say that. Man. I find it funny we're talking about like good and evil and the human condition. I have no idea how to answer this question.
Sometimes it's the hardest question I ask.
It depends, man. And sometimes the best cakes are kind of pies. You ever had ice cream cake? It's an ice cream pie.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Cheesecake is basically pie.
Cheesecake is pie.
Yeah.
Cheesecake is pie. Like, that's okay. So we have cake and we have pie. Those are constructs of our own creation, and I don't believe that you should adhere to those if it's keeping you from one or the other. That's what I think.
Cool.
Both, because they're the same.
Valid answer. Johnny, thank you for doing this with me.
Yep.
Plug your shit. Where can we find you and your stuff?
Johnny Manchild and the Poor Bastards. We're on Facebook and at Poor Bastards Instagram, at Johnny Manchild for Twitter. You can find us on Amazon, Google Play, Apple Music, Spotify. Pretty much anywhere that streams music will be on there. Yeah. Oh, we also got a merch store on Teespring, the Bastard Boutique. Lots of shit on there.
Yeah.
Our next show in Oklahoma City is August 9th at VZD's with the Snake Oil Salesman.
Cool.
Yeah. Also, we'll be filming part of the show for a music video we're making. So if you go to it, you'll be in our music video.
Sweet. You have already consented.
There you go.
Yeah. No, I'm really glad that we would like run around in like similar circles, and I would always like see you around. But I'm glad that I like nailed you down.
Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yeah. So I'm Santiago Ramones.
I'm Johnny Manchild.
You can find everything that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com. I make music. You can download my demo, Songs with Words, for free on Bandcamp. And there's also Machinations, which is not like necessarily released because it's not like, it's just like a live performance recording of my graduate composition recital. But that's on my website if you go to, because it's through the podcast. So I put it santiagoramones.com/podcast/machinations. I should probably just make a separate page that's just Machinations, but it was hard enough to set that whole thing up because it's like the whole experience. Like it has the YouTube videos. You can also listen to like the whole thing just on one audio file, and it has like all of the lyrics and like some photos that Blue Lorette took. And so like it's a whole thing. It's really good. I'm really happy about it.
I commend you for your design efforts. Honestly, that shit's hard.
And then I don't think I have any upcoming shows. This is coming up. This is going up next week. So I have a show literally today, but that's already happened because future past tense. Yeah.
Also, everybody go on Spotify and listen to Spencer. It's a new band, a new album from Joanne from Annie Oakley. Mm. So Joanne or Joanna? I actually don't know.
I think just Joe.
It's Joe? It's just Joe.
Whatever.
It's just Joe. Anyway, it's really good. So fuck my music. Just go listen to that.
They're actually, I'm wanting to get them on, or just Joe or whoever. Yeah, I tried to get Annie Oakley on, but then they like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Get Joe just to talk about Sisyphus. I want to hear how that came about.
Right. Anyways, yeah. I always end my podcast with my 3 things. They shape my life philosophy. Those 3 things are: love never fails, it's going to be okay, I might be wrong.
comes from where she wanders, but he hasn't found her yet. This image is a marvel in purity and truth, an image blurring further every day away from Ruth. He called another letter into his shaking arm. The memory will linger even should it do him harm. The message may be simple, complex, and after days a 20/20 vision getting lost along the way. The spring turns into summer, the sun